Hi, I'm Neil. I'm a volunteer at Wycombe Night Shelter. My wife Julie and I used to volunteer at Crisis at Christmas for a number of years, and then we wondered if there was something more local that we could volunteer at, and that's how we came across Wycombe Homeless Connection. And we first volunteered for the night shelter in 2017, and we volunteered every year it's been running since. Julie is a shift leader, but I remain a humble host, a general volunteer. So the role of host is being part of the team. We arrive at the venue at about 6 o'clock. We're joined by all other members of the team, and then we just set the venue up for when the guests are going to arrive. That means laying down the beds, putting the tables out, getting everything ready. About 7 o'clock, the shift leader will give a briefing, telling us all about our roles and explaining about the guests that we're going to be receiving that evening and any issues that we need to know about them. And then at 7:30 we open the doors and we're ready to go. I'm not sure there's any particular one conversation that stuck with me, but a lot of guests are quite open with the reasons on how they've become street homeless, and these often involve addictions and other reasons. And they're often very keen to try and find a way to deal with the issues that have caused them to be homeless. And I find my role is just playing a very small part in trying to encourage them on that journey to try and find their way to get out of the situation they've got themselves into, which has caused them to be street homeless. Yes, I did find it easy to chat and connect with the guests. It's the most important part of the role to socialise with the guests. And so one of the things to remember when the food is served is we all go up in one lot together and everyone sits all together. And one of the key ways of talking to guests is just to ask them about what they're interested in. Think of it like when you go to a social event and you meet someone for the first time, you're more than likely to ask them a bit about themselves, what they're interested in, and then you just literally pick up on the sort of things that they talk about they're interested in and ask them questions about that. Everyone just mucks in and does their own particular job. So there are two people in the kitchen, they have their own specific role. The roles among the general volunteers involve setting the room up in the first place. And then when the guests arrived, it's socialising with the guests, it's doing cigarette breaks, it's making sure guests know they're comfortable and know where they're to be sleeping. And if they're first time to the venue, making sure they know all about the particular venue. We meet up at 6 o'clock for an evening session, and that lasts through until 10 o'clock when the night shift come on stream and the evening volunteers are allowed to go. You'll tend to find that the 4 hours goes by very quickly, and you'll leave feeling that you feel very rewarded and very pleased with your efforts for the evening. I think you learn that people become homeless through a whole different variety of causes that perhaps you hadn't even thought of before. And sometimes you don't think about the impact on their immediate family. So you'll probably find a number of guests who want to talk to you about their children, and often they've been barred from seeing their children. That's a particular cause of concern that I hadn't really thought about before. So part of our role is really to talk to them, try and build them up, and try and help them in some small way to deal with the issues that's caused them to be on the street in the first place. I'd say really don't feel nervous. There isn't anything to feel nervous about. You're working with a number of experienced people, both general hosts and certainly the shift leader, who will be an experienced person. If any issues arise, the shift leader will deal with that. When I talk about issues arising, I can't really think of any issues that have made me feel unsafe at all in all of the years that I've been volunteering with Wycombe Night Shelter. The biggest incident that took place last year was when one guest decided that he didn't want to sleep next to another guest because he was snoring so loudly. So this particular guest picked up his bed and took it into the area where the night shelter volunteers' evening shift were going to be sleeping. So when this was discovered, the night shift leader had to be very assertive and say to this particular guest that it wasn't acceptable for him to move his bed and he had to move it back. There was lots of huffing and puffing, and eventually an agreement was reached that he wouldn't have to sleep next to the other guest on the next evening, and so begrudgingly he moved his bed back to where it was in the first place. I will certainly be back for the next night shelter. It's a very rewarding experience, and you feel that you're part of a giant team effort. Night shelter can't take place unless literally hundreds of people volunteer. And even if you only do 1 or 2 shifts, you're playing a small part in a giant project which helps keep people off the streets from January through to March, and that's an amazing thing to be part of.